Welcome, everyone, to Duke City Championship Wrestling's Real Show, where I, the voice of Duke City Championship Wrestling, Fred Slow, and our hero, Hobo Hank, sit down, and we go over this last week's episode of the program, Duke City Championship Wrestling, making its debut at the historic El Rey Theater this past Thursday, May the 25th. Joe, you were the headliner, and you were around stories all night long. Talk to me a little bit about the energy of Thursday night. Talk about the historic El Rey Theater playing a role as a character in the story itself, and the fan base of Albuquerque returning to professional wrestling and what they brought not just to you, but to the entirety of the night.
You know, Fred, I've been involved in over 500 live wrestling events in my career. And I don't want to sound cliche here, but to say that Thursday night was different would be an understatement. It was completely different. And, you know, you spoke to the energy of the crowd. That may be the loudest crowd I think I've ever heard. They were so fired up to see wrestling back in Albuquerque. And I expected a decent reception, but I was blown away. I get chills right now just kind of remembering that moment.
Yeah, I've been
Right?
fortunate. I've been fortunate yesterday being Friday at the time of this recording, now Saturday the 27th, as we're going to break down some highlights from the opening night. I've been fortunate to have this exact same conversation with a lot of people. And Joe, there are 300 people in attendance. And if they all told 3 friends, there's at least 1,000 people of chatter around this community. But I know that number is much higher due to how fortunate we were to have a little bit of media coverage and have a little bit of help from outside of just our own promotion, including the local NBC affiliate, the local Fox affiliate, the local CBS affiliate, the newspaper here in town, the Albuquerque Journal. Obviously, CBS Sports Radio was a big implement in helping us. This was a really special occurrence with an effort that I don't necessarily know, Joe, if I have seen in the independent promotion scene anywhere else across this country where I've been so fortunate to view it.
Again, I can say never once. Not once have I seen this kind of exposure. You know, at best, we'll see a little write up in a local paper here or there, but just the support for the community as a whole. You know, that energy that we felt in that arena backstage was matched from the performers. I mean, guys that have been in this industry for years and years and have worked all over the country, when they walked into that venue and they saw the setup and they saw the production value, they were blown away, and they knew that they were going to be part of something special.
Well, let's do this, Joe. Let's relive that night, you and I together right now, as we've cut together a handful of highlights from the first night. Obviously, the entirety of this production will be out next Saturday, Joe. So we're very excited about that. From the time of this airing 1 week from today, and it'll be polished up. You know how it is. There's a little bit of graphical overlay. There's some things we're going to do, but it's all been an in-house production for us. And a big thank you to Proby Networks for being a part of that production and capturing and supplying to us. So, Joe, we'll step aside for a second and we'll bring in a video that we're going to pop in and out of and just kind of talk about that emotion all night long. So whenever you need me to cut, I will cut, and then we will keep going.
Sounds good.
So here we are, Joe, and I actually started from not the beginning. So the opening of this is obviously just us kind of easing in, and then talk a little bit about the competitors as you see them, Joe. Talk about how important that crowd was.
Yeah, I mean, you can see right out of the gate here, we've got people with signs representing their love of Albuquerque and their dislike of Texas. In the ring here, we've got Gato is making his debut here, along with Jerry Vendetta. And man, this match just right out of the gate set the tone for the rest of the night. It was high energy, it was fast, and as you can see, Gato gets the win. You know, he sneaks in a win over a much bigger competitor, and the crowd exploded. You know, I was so pleased to see the reception. Some of these guys have wrestled in Albuquerque a little bit,
right?
But you know, just the reception that the crowd had for him right out of the gate was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was something special, Joe. I was on the broadcast, obviously, and you can maybe hear my voice a little bit here. And Chris Burnett alongside me, the mayor of downtown, our acting commissioner of Duke City Championship Wrestling. You know how he does encourage a little bit of cheering for the guys that maybe stand on the good side of the line, and how I maybe encourage a little bit of the cheering for the guys that maybe stand on the bad side of the line. But how much fun it was to just watch the storytelling between these two dudes. And then as far as you put them in the position they were in to start the show, in front of a 300-person capacity crowd at the historic El Rey Theater. What was your thought process there? What was the trust in having these guys go out first and be able to produce a banger?
Fred, really throughout the night, a lot of classic storytelling. So I wanted to introduce these guys to the community and let them shine. And I knew that Delgato would easily get the crowd on his side quickly. He's a small competitor. He has a lot of energy. He can fly. He can move. And
Yeah.
I was going to start off the show with a lot of movement and energy.
So there's your trivia right there. Enrique Delgado, the first ever to complete a victory in Duke City Championship Wrestling. So that'll go down in the New Mexico Hall of Fame trivia books for a lot of years, and kind of a fun moment for he and a fun moment for us. And I hadn't quite settled into the emotion of it yet here. Whenever I had gone out with Aaron Burnett, who's co-owner of our promotion and also owner of the historic El Rey Theater, I had stepped foot into the ring. I was the first individual to step foot in the ring in front of a Duke City Championship Wrestling crowd, Joe. And whenever I stepped in, the reception of that was real special to me. There were people that did know I existed 5 minutes before that could not have been more thankful for the effort we were putting in. And we'll get to the point where we talk about you closing out that ring at the end of the night. So we'll continue this one on here.
Sure.
So as
Yeah,
Delgado got the first one, you got. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one other side note too, if a real behind the scenes look at this. So, myself, normally I'm a performer, a professional wrestler, but
Yeah.
um, in this capacity now I'm a booker and I'm part of the promotion. And so it was my responsibility to have the right talent on the show in the right order, wrestling the right people, a lot of the stories, right? And so a whole different level of expectation out of myself. And I almost hate to admit it in public, but when Gato got the 3 count and I heard the reaction from the crowd, I had to fight back some tears. I felt
Yeah.
that good. It just the energy it went through the curtain and I could feel it from backstage, and I knew that the rest of the night was going to be just something magical.
Yeah, well, and here's a really good example too, because we've added, there's layers of not just athleticism, but there's comedic value out here too, right? So Happy the Clown, who's hilarious in every single way as a performer goes, he's over in front of the crowd. Obviously, it's not the result that necessarily everyone in the crowd wanted in this one, but still laughs throughout the second match. And this here, for me personally, this is when I felt like I had settled into the broadcast. I knew I was going to be able to hit my points. I knew I was going to be able to talk to the guys, and Chris Burnett, as mentioned, just absolute talent on the microphone. I was so fortunate to be able to take a couple beats and have him really take control of that thing. And my perspective was this perspective. I had the TV in front of me the whole time, so this has been kind of a fun reliving for I.
Yeah, absolutely. And meanwhile, I'm backstage, and obviously, I don't have the same view as the fans or as you. Um,
Yeah,
but ironically, around the same time as when I settled in, I started to feel really good about things. I saw things coming to life exactly the way that I had pictured them and kind of dictated, so to speak. And at this point on, I was literally just a fan from behind the screen,
yeah.
enjoying the show.
Well, and,
Just being,
this is interesting here. We introduced weaponry for the first time tonight here because it was the kendo stick. And we had a lot of conversations behind the scenes about exactly the product we wanted to bring to our fan base here in Albuquerque, because we wanted to make sure it was a family safe and fun environment. What was your energy on how to introduce that? What kept that within the realm of like families and maintained entertainment as opposed to some stuff you've maybe seen in other promotions?
that's been an important discussion since day one, right? We want to be
Mm-hmm.
professional. We want to maintain sponsorship possibilities, and we want to make sure that we're providing a good time for everybody.
Right.
And we don't want to exclude others, right? And I know that there's always going to be fans that are looking for a more hardcore product and the blood and whatnot. But it was important to us to be able to provide high levels of action, high levels of entertainment, without the fear of alienating the children. And I
Yeah.
think I think we were able to do that this night really, really well. I mean, yeah, you got to see a kendo stick in action, and in a few minutes, you get another surprise. But nobody left the arena in an ambulance. Everybody was safe, and um, everybody just had a great time, and that's really what the goal was.
So we're about halfway through the night here. What we didn't mention was opening this program, Adam Merrick. Oh, and this is as good as it gets. Like is Turbo Tony as well. There were a couple of guys tonight that were on Thursday night that were really able to draw the jeers and I was just so very impressed by acknowledging the audience and letting them tell you how much they do or don't support you as far as entertainers go. But before we come back to that idea, Adam Merrick stepping into the ring, he's such a iconic part of wrestling here in Albuquerque. And I don't know how that conversation went with you and him whenever you reached out to him, but how excited was Adam Merrick, our ring announcer, to be back in professional wrestling here in Albuquerque?
So I think it's been pretty publicly known for a long time that Mosh Pit Mike and Thunder and myself have been aligned for years and years. And
Yeah.
so when we finally did decide on a date to this event and to make this thing official, obviously though they were factored in. Uh,
Hmm.
but beyond them, the very first phone call that I made was to Adam Merrick,
Oh, good.
because for all the reasons that you just said, Fred. I mean, he's iconic. He is the face of Albuquerque wrestling, in my opinion. He's the voice of Albuquerque wrestling, in my opinion, from a live announcer standpoint. And so to get him on board for me was huge. I actually kept that a surprise. I never announced that he was going to be part of it. I asked that he
Right.
not let people know that. And my vision for the opening of this entire show was, the national anthem, the blackout, the lights hit, and out comes Adam Merrick. I wanted him to be the first face that they saw when this broadcast occurred.
Now, this Turbo Tony match here, this one was real interesting to me because we don't have it on the highlights. He came out, told the crowd exactly how he felt about him, and the crowd didn't necessarily respond in a positive way to that. And then throughout the match, being able to go over clean here on the good guy was a lot of excitement, I think, for me, because it kind of kept the audience on their toes, where it was, hey, you aren't necessarily always going to get, and this is a little fun after the fact right here, but you're not necessarily always going to get your hero out like as the champion. And I like that because it's you can't really take a match off as a fan. You have to make sure you're tuned in all night long.
Yeah, absolutely. A good wrestler, their job is to really do two things. It's to control the emotions of a crowd, and then it's to create moments, memories. And so as I was booking the show, I was very cognizant of that, and I knew exactly how I wanted the crowd to feel, um,
Hmm.
how I wanted the energy in that room to be at different times throughout the show, and that was one of them, right? We wanted to bring them down a little bit at that point, and not everything can be predictable, so it's got to keep all those things in mind.
So throughout the first half of the show, obviously I thought we'd hit the ground running. We had a lot of momentum. The intermission hits. And I tell you what, that's when it became a little real to me as well. I got up from the broadcast table. 15-minute intermission, I think, is roughly what we did. And my plan was, well, I'm going to run to the restroom. I'm going to grab a bottle of water. I'll get back to my broadcast spot. I'll be fine. Little inside pro wrestling for anyone tuning into this. I've been broadcasting for 20 years. I, for 20 years, have broadcast professional sports and amateur sports. And now I'm the voice of New Mexico Highlands University. I broadcast collegiate sports regularly. The New Mexico Runners, pro soccer. Like, I am a guy who has had a world of exposure and experience this thing, Joe. I couldn't make it out of my seat. I couldn't get out of the broadcast booth. There were so many individuals, fans of Duke City Championship Wrestling, on Duke City Championship Wrestling's birthday, the day we created it, that would not let me pass. It was like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. It was they wanted handshakes, they wanted thank yous, they wanted photos, they wanted when's the next one. Lots of stories about how they missed out on premium seating. Lots of stories about how they grew up watching the sport and how they grew up watching it with their family and how they're emulating the exact same thing. I never got to the restroom. I never got that bottle of water. I spent 15 straight minutes with 300 of my closest friends, and it was incredible, Joe. It at that moment it consumed me. Where, and I don't know how this is going to translate. The restroom didn't exist to me anymore. Like, the only thing that mattered in that moment was letting these people give me the emotion that they had Joe, presumably for 5 years here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. Wrestling's uh, been almost non-existent for the last 4 to 5 years, and so they were
Hmm.
just so hungry to have it back. And everything you just said, Fred, makes me so happy because going into this, it was that emotion that you felt during intermission, that was planned. That's what I wanted. I
Hmm.
wanted people to leave that fourth match with those highs, with the buzz, wanting to take that opportunity, that little bit 15-minute break, of course, to go to the restroom and grab a drink, but but more so just to give them the opportunity to turn to the people that they came with to the venue and say, wow, I can't believe what we've seen so far. This is different, and I love this brand. And so that's, I feel like that was achieved.
Was there a moment backstage, be it immediately before the show, or maybe when the performers entered the venue, or maybe halfway through the show? Was there a moment where you knew that the boys in the back were bought in at a level that you maybe don't necessarily see? And I'm not trying to degrade any other promotion across the country, that you don't necessarily see it like a KC Hall, or you don't necessarily see in a venue where we can jump off the top rope, Joe. I know that sounds little, but that's a gigantic part of pro wrestling. Was there a moment for you where the guys quote unquote clicked into Duke City Championship Wrestling?
Yes, it was right after. So the first match, prior to the event, I kind of walked everybody through what that opening was going to look like and what I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
Yeah.
there's a lot of unknowns. An event like this, we have to rely on lighting engineers and sound engineers, and there's so many people involved, and to kind of wrangle all that day of can be a challenge, and you never know what's going to fall short or whatever. Um, so I think when they saw that the opening looked the way that I described it would, and then
Mm-hmm.
the crowd reaction following the opening match, which we were able to watch via monitor in the back, at that moment I literally watched the locker room um, just become fans themselves, and
There we go.
everybody that was part of this event has already reached out and asked to please be part of the main roster. I would expect everybody that you saw on Thursday night, you'll see them again.
And we obviously have big aspirations. We're not trying to start this, we're trying to do this. And like this program here is an example. Like, do we perform every single week? We do not. Do we create a content to be consumed by those that are a fan or future fans of Duke City Championship Wrestling? We absolutely will. So in some capacity, either in the ring or outside the ring or adjacent to the sport, we're going to be able to produce something. We're going to be able to bring something out. And we have a big, exciting press conference coming up on June the 13th, Joe. We're really excited about that. Because what we're going to do on June the 13th is we're going to lay out the remainder of the year. And that's going to be a big deal to us, talking about exactly when we're doing it. Obviously, everyone knows where, the historic El Rey Theater. And the theater, Joe, it felt like it played a part of a character in this story, right? There was a sense that it was the guys in the ring, but it was the building itself. How unique of an experience did it feel to you as a performer, and the feedback you got having the ring butted right up against the stage the way we had it, surrounded by what are those 100-foot ceilings in there? I mean, that place is gigantic, like just like in a cathedral. What is it like to wrestle in a cathedral?
It was amazing. I mean, it was almost surreal, standing in the ring and
Yeah.
seeing it. And prior to, during the setup of the event, I took the opportunity to literally stand in every corner of that venue, including the top bar, the mezzanine area, just to see what the fans
Yeah.
were going to see and how that presentation was going to go over. And you're right, Fred. I mean, just the feel of the room itself is unlike any place I've ever performed in my career.
Yeah, just so very exceptional in every single way, not just the talent in the ring, but everything surrounded it. We're going to go back to the video, Joe, if you're ready for that. So what we have here is we've jumped ahead a little bit to the end. And so this is you coming out. This is iconic. I mean, that's as good as it gets from Hobo Hank. But whenever you came out, no one had saw you to that point in the night. Charlie 50 had come out. He had got some people not excited about him being there. And then you came out and kind of faced a little turbulence, and you were here in Albuquerque, man. Like what is your emotion right there?
Again, Fred, I've been in front of hundreds of crowds over my career, and yes, they get excited to see me, and I get a lot of Hobo Hank chants and whatnot. But boy, this was completely different. When I stood in that
Yeah.
ring, I think when the live or when the show actually releases, you'll see the full match. But when I made my way through the crowd and I finally actually stepped into the ring without doing anything at all and just standing in the middle, the crowd erupted for minutes,
Yeah.
several minutes.
Minutes.
It just went on
You
and
see,
on and on, and the more energy there was, the more energy that came. Um, I I
oh, sorry, my
expected some
Siri
of that.
kicked in, Joe.
What's that?
I think I lost you for a second because my Siri kicked in because we're living
Oh,
in the future and I can't do anything without her interrupting my life. But
oh no.
with that, yeah. So you were talking about standing in the ring, and from my perspective, and you'll see it on the broadcast. Chris and I, we go to. I mean, we're just not there. It's the building. It's speaking for itself. It's the crowd. And Joe, as you come out, there's 300 plus individuals singing Mr. Bojangles with you. Like this was the historic El Rey Theater sing along for Hobo Hank. I know you get a lot of crowd participation. Was that one unique to you?
It absolutely was, and
Yeah,
the crowd was just along for the ride, no matter what it was in the ring. And again, my job is to create emotions and to take people for a ride, ups and downs. Um, and just the way everything translated, everything, I almost could have predicted the reactions that I would have gotten, but they were so amplified from even what I had in my mind. Um, it still gives me chills. Still.
love it, love it. Yeah, I was not goosebump adjacent at that time. I was goosebumps. Obviously, we're gonna give a little spoiler here, but as mentioned, the big exclamation point to the night is this finish here between you and Charlie 50, and I got a chance to interact with him a little bit. First time I had met him, and I mean, a guy who understands the business.
Oh, absolutely. He's a pro through and through. He comes from Lubbock, Texas. Um, when I was booking this event, he was top of mind as somebody I could bring in. I knew the crowd would understand quickly that they did not like him. He's very very unlikable. So he'd be a perfect foe for me from the get go.
Yeah,
And just what a great way to kick off. To have he's got a tag team partner, Lamigra. Um, Obviously, we see here in the footage, Phoenix plays a part
yeah,
in the disqualification, and so kind of what we're left here at the end of the night is I've got the three of them, and out come some of my allies. We got Thunder, Mosh Pit Mike, and Chris Watson, and so really the question is now, out of the seven individuals who are out there on the stage, if you will, where what's next? Who's fighting who will be uh, friend and foe, and I think there's a lot of different directions that we can go from here. So this
yeah.
is
What a
again exactly what I was hoping to leave the crowd with, and the big close right here. Again, the crowd, just that energy, the level, you can hear them chanting DCW or DCCW. Um, that let me know right there that this brand was alive and well.
Yeah, it's a fortunate start, my man. I was talking about this a little bit, and again, I don't necessarily know who knows, but I'll be as transparent as I can in the beginning. I host a sports talk program here in Albuquerque every single day, Monday through Friday, 4 to 7, on our local CBS sports affiliate called the Sports Animal, and the name of my show is called 2 Men On. So I was on 2 Men On talking about the build up to the event. We did a ton of press, we did a ton of hype, and the question I would get a lot from the industry guys, it was, hey, what do you think's going to happen? And I have a little bit of a reputation here in town of not failing. I do pretty well at the things I do, and I'm proud of that. That's the thing I'm insanely proud of. We put on some banger events. I was not prepared at all. I wasn't in the stratosphere of the emotion that would come from the fan base. I've tried to convey it to other professionals. I've tried to convey it to people I know personally, my family, and I cannot put into words, Joe, the amount of energy in the full spectrum. If it's love for the good guys, or hate for the bad guys, or appreciation for the event itself, or the recollection, the recalled memories from their youth. I still don't have it, Joe. Like I have been moved to emotion professionally, and that's because of the program you were able to put together for everyone. And I'm so very indebted to you for it, because it personally and professionally has changed my entire life.
Well, that means a lot to me, and Fred, and I've heard a lot of the same stories over the last few days.
Yeah.
I've had stories of wrestlers who were retired that are now wanting to come back out of retirement simply to be a part of what we're doing.
Right.
I've heard stories again about people finally getting to bring their children and relive some of the experiences that they had when as a child. And I'm no stranger to that. I wrestled for Ricky Romero personally, for years, and so I know the legacy that he left behind in this area. And every great once in a while somebody kindly compares me in some way to him, and so It means a lot, and I think you know, here we go. We're off to the races. Me as an optimist, I was hopeful that we'd get a great crowd that night. I have all the faith in the world in you, Chris Burnett, Aaron Burnett, and myself. Our work ethic is there. I knew the presentation was going to be on point. But then the realist in myself, who's seen hundreds of wrestling companies start and stop, knowing that most of them they open to a house of 30 people, if they're lucky. Uh, so there was always that little tinge of doubt in my mind, and Albuquerque showed up in a big way and really, you know, what a phenomenal beginning. This is just the beginning.
I agree completely. The icing on some of this cake that I would say is, we had valets, we had a ring announcer, we had kind of all the historical, like really classic aspects. We had, I'll give you an example. We had really good heel work throughout the night, and I wrote down a note here because I wanted to make sure I mentioned it. Turbo Tony. So we had really good heel work throughout the night from Turbo Tony. There was a part in his match where he exits the ring and he just walks around the ring, and he's able to draw heat from like refusing to re-enter the ring. Well, this isn't necessarily an approach to pro wrestling you see on television every week, because that's not exciting, right? That's not entertainment. That's not good for the camera. In person, that's as strong of a move as you can do, period. And how quickly and how intelligent, Joe, Hobo Hank, how intelligent our audience is to say, we hate this guy. He's not giving us the product that we want. And I'm from a broadcast position going, we might have some real magic here, man. There is just a world of talent out there.
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of that type of entertainment from from my booking. Where I'm an old school wrestling fan, tried and true. Not that I don't appreciate today's product, but it's very different. I'm not putting these things together. I'm putting them together for the live crowd, right? The television is an important piece of the puzzle. That's what draws people hopefully to the live events. But the bread and butter for us is to have people in the building, and so that's really your job and Mr. Chris Burnett's job to tell those stories and to kind of help translate it through the television. But as far as the action you're going to see, it's geared for the live crowd.
All right, so give me your final thought. We're right at 30 minutes. You know me, I don't like to keep anyone longer than I need to. On a scale of 1 to 10, Joe, in the simplest ways you can say it, the opening night of Duke City Championship Wrestling at the historic El Rey Theater, a date you'll never forget, May the 25th. Where does that hit for you number-wise on that scale so that people can relate to just your opinion of it?
I hate to say it. It was a 10 plus in my mind. Now, there were a few things. I've got some notes. I know you have notes. The four of us have our notes.
Of course.
There's always going to be things that we can do to make it just a little bit better, polish it up. We have some seating arrangements that we're going to change up, and love the feedback from the fans. We'll take all that into consideration. But as far as where my expectations were going into the event, it blew it out of the water. So I could not be happier. This week has been incredible.
Yeah, and I would say to piggyback off that, as fortunate of a start that we had, how fortunate we also are to only be able to improve upon it. So, and you'll see that in our upcoming performances. Obviously, we're going to hold 11 of our 12 events every single year. Our official events. We do have aspirations to do some things outside of just the buildings. But of our 12 official events that we intend to put on every year, 11 of those will be at the historic El Rey Theater. We do have an intention through a partnership with the Rio Rancho Event Center to put on a really big house show. And we're gonna do that too. And that's going to be a lofty goal, but we'll work obviously towards that. We're going to introduce some titles. We're really excited about that. We'll have 2 individual titles. We'll have the tag team titles, which will be insanely good. A question I got a lot on Thursday is, when are we going to bring in the women? The women will be here. That we will have women wrestling. I promise you that. I got a lot of questions about luchador performers. Absolutely, we will. We will do that. I got questions about midget performers. I didn't know that was still in existence. I'm in on that too, I guess. We'll have to figure that out. But there's just a fan base I want so very much. And I tell you what, I love that they have a chance to ask a couple people for it. And you and I are those people, apparently.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's weird to be that guy, Fred, but after 30 years in the wrestling business, my Rolodex is pretty deep. So if we need we need women and midgets, I'm your guy. I can find them. So
It-
we'll just see what the fans ask for, and we can provide.
we're right here at the breaking point. Little inside pro wrestling for everyone. You and I, we first sat down and talked about this product 3 years ago. Has it been that long? We have been trying Albuquerque. We have put in the work. We a bunch of obstacles came up in front of us, and we knocked those down, including the COVID-19 pandemic. We moved from one partnership group to another, and the one we have now, I don't necessarily know if we could have found a better group of individuals. I'm very excited about them. Chris Burnett, Aaron Burnett, no relation, just the Burnett boys that are not related at all. And I think, Joe, there's not a group of 4 individuals in this city more prepared or well equipped to put this thing on than the 4 of us. So this thing is, in my opinion, in the best hands it could possibly be in.
I would like to stay the same, and I feel that way wholeheartedly. And I think Thursday proved it. Albuquerque, y'all put your faith in us. You bought a ticket. You showed up, and you showed up in a big way. And watching social media ever since, you guys have done it. You're liking it. You're following it. You're sharing it. You're telling people. I have no doubt that our next event, which we will announce, right, June 13th, we will lay out all the events for the rest of the year. That next event, there will be more people in that building than there were on the 25th.
I agree so very much, and I'm very excited where we're going. Thank you for the house on Thursday night, Joe. That was just incredible. The people that came out and supported you. Thank you to all of our Duke City Championship Wrestling fans. The T-shirts sold, Joe. Joe, I'm not trying to go too inside baseball. You sold more T-shirts that night than ever.
Yes, that was.
That's pretty good.
Personally, Hobo Hank merchandise, that was the #1 night of my career. And I obviously am privy to the numbers of the overall merchandise stand. That was the biggest merchandise night that I've ever been a part of in any wrestling company in my entire life.
And we're going to do a call to action, right? So we're going to do what do you want to see, Duke City Championship Wrestling fans? Obviously, I kept hearing about stickers. I kept hearing about buttons. I didn't know that was so prominently wanted. So we'll create those things for sure. But we're excited to bring a lot of different merchandise to our audience. We have a partnership, Joe, which I haven't told you about, but we partnered with the Albuquerque Duke store. That's the intersection of Carlisle and Central, where the iconic Albuquerque Dukes logo is located. That's where you can buy all their merchandise. They will be carrying Duke City Championship Wrestling merchandise. So you'll be able to get merchandise year round, which is so very incredible. So we're excited for that partnership. Obviously, we're going to do no fee tickets as well at the Albuquerque Duke store. So that's going to be a lot of fun. You can go in there and pick up tickets at no fee to you. So you'll save a couple bucks there. So that's going to be a very good partnership, and a lot more partnerships coming. Just wrapped up a meeting today with Duke City Cornhole. Obviously, part of the inspiration for our name is Duke City Cornhole, and they're excited to show a lot of support. So we're gonna bring them in and do some cool stuff, and a lot of different partners throughout our community, and we're gonna mess with every single one of them. And we wanna hear from you, fan base. So reach out to our social media links. If it's Facebook or Instagram, people reach out to me on LinkedIn. Like if there's an avenue where you're trying to reach Joe or I or Chris or Aaron, please make the effort. It's monitored regularly. We will return to you. If you're an industry individual, obviously I would direct you to Joe, but I will do my absolute best to help you as well. There are people who are interested, Joe. I'm only imagine your phone was ringing nonstop from Thursday night on.
I've already just in the last 3 days, I've had 7 wrestlers reach out, and that's directly. I've also had some other people reach out indirectly to be part of the event. And I just like to throw in, Fred, too, that to put on events like this, it takes so much, and there's so many strange little things that add up that need to be found or gotten to put these on.
Right.
And so anybody who's out there that loves what we're doing or loves what we're trying to do, regardless of what industry you're in, whether if you own your own business or whatever, even if you think it has nothing to do with wrestling, but you would like to be part of it, like to be a sponsor, like to partner with us, reach out. We could use the help. It's not always just about cash and hanging banners.
No.
There's more creative ways that we can partner up together to help grow both of our brands.
If I could throw you through a plyboard supplied by a local lumber company every single show, I will put their name all over that plyboard. That plyboard went into 1,000 pieces, and so many people scooped them up. I don't think we swept a single piece of plyboard off the floor.
There was none left, and there's going to be a lot of dog houses built out of that, I'm sure, over the next coming weeks.
Final words, Joe, before I let you go.
Thank you, Fred. Thank the whole team of DCCW, everybody who was there to put on that event. Primarily, though, thank you to the fans, and thank you for embracing this brand and this product so wholeheartedly. I think we've proven already how unique this is. Look at what we're doing right now. I mean, tell me an independent wrestling company that you can go back and see, the owners talking about how it went and kind of the direction of the brand coming up. So this is something special, guys. Just keep liking, sharing, and supporting.
Well, and I'll tell you, my opinion on this, since you brought it up, just to extend a moment longer, is this is what I love about any organization. I love the behind the scenes. I love the creative. I love the thought process. I love the whys or why didn'ts. And I like accessibility. Obviously, we're pre-recorded here and we'll release on all of our social media outlets. But what if in the second episode of the ReelShow, we do it live. We bring in the Duke City Championship Wrestling fan base. What if we do it immediately following a show? You know how popular podcasts are now, immediately following like NBA games or the NFL. This is not the traditional pro wrestling approach that I think people have seen for so many years. There's a bunch of individuals, me and Aaron Burnett and Chris Burnett and you, I think we have over 100 years of combined experience in the world of entertainment. Are you kidding me? Like there's not an obstacle in front of us that we won't create ourselves, that we won't knock down. So we're so very excited. Hobo Hank, Joe Singer, I'm in a world of debt to you for emotion I did not know I would feel. So thank you so very much for helping me discover that inner child again and being able to turn a hobby into a profession. This means the world to me, friend.
Well, likewise, man. I love wrestling. It's my number one passion. And for you to help me bring it back to life here in Albuquerque, the place I love, likewise, I think we're indebted to one another. So thank you.
Big thank you to you, Hobo Hank. Big appreciation for myself, Fabulous Freddie Slow, as we step away from the very first episode of The ReelShow, a Duke City Championship Wrestling production. Good job, everyone. GG.